Cody Rhodes is going to be challenging Brock Lesnar at this upcoming WrestleMania Backlash. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun if we break down this storyline, talk about Cody versus Brock, play some 2K23. Cody versus Brock is very interesting. So after WrestleMania, obviously Cody lost and he did not beat the Tribal Chief. And then we had the tag team match that was supposed to happen between Solo and Roman taking on Cody and Brock Lesnar. And then that ended before it even got started, where Brock Lesnar took out Cody Rhodes, and the whole thing ended up in a huge breakdown between these two. So then on Monday Night Raw this past week, we had Cody come in and he cut a traditional Cody promo and addressing Brock Lesnar and what had happened. And it looks like this is all going to be setting up a match between the two at WrestleMania Backlash. Fun fact, they just keep going back and forth on the term Backlash or WrestleMania Backlash. On Monday Night Raw, they called it WrestleMania Backlash, so we all thought that was going to be a change of the name of the actual pay-per-view, but then other times they just called it Backlash. So we don't really know which one it's going to be, but either way, at Backlash, it is supposed to be Brock versus Cody in a match one-on-one. Is this going to happen though? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this, and if you can, let me know if you end up enjoying videos like this where we're talking about and breaking down current WWE storylines with some 2K23 going at you in the background. So, is this match really going to take place? Is it really going to happen straight up one-on-one at Backlash? The premium live event for Backlash is very much a secondary show, a secondary pay-per-view. It is not one of the big matches. This is a big match. Huge match between Cody and Brock. They've never faced each other, and I gotta think this match may not necessarily happen or go down the way we think. I don't think this is going to be a straight up one-on-one match. And there's kind of two possible outcomes that I can see going on with this. Could just be a complete mess, beatdown. The match doesn't even start. Brock comes out, Cody comes out, and it just ends up being a complete annihilation of Cody before the bell even rings, where Brock just decimates him, gets him bloody, beats him down like he's doing right now, where he's just beating him around the ladder and then throws him through a table. We could see all of that, and the match never really happens. They advertise it. Fans are going to want to see Cody versus Brock. That's going to be a main event because we are not going to get Roman Reigns on Backlash pay-per-view. So if we are going to have this match as potentially the main event of the show, I don't know if it necessarily ends in a full-out match where the bell rings. I could totally see it where Brock is just going to beat the living daylights out of Cody, take him out completely, and to further story so that they can eventually get to a larger match at either Money in the Bank, Saudi Arabia, maybe SummerSlam, but I feel like that's way too far off. The other thing that I can see them doing with all of this, but they give us the match, and it is a complete breakdown decimation of Cody Rhodes. Either way, Cody's losing in this scenario, by the way. The way I can see it, though, is they ring the bell, they have the match, but this ends up being like, what was it, 2012? Brock Lesnar versus John Cena when Brock came back and they had the match and he completely destroyed John Cena. It wasn't even close. John didn't get anything off and Brock was presented as a complete dominant monster and it wasn't even close for that match. I can really see them doing this. This is kind of what they set up anyways to begin with. Brock came back or came out after WrestleMania and he turned on Cody and did the full beatdown, and it was kind of like they've been setting up when John Cena versus Brock happened, when Brock made his big return and just annihilated him. I can see them doing that, and you're still, either way, you're setting up a story and you're setting up a scenario where Cody is still having to fight from underneath. The big problem, I think, coming out of WrestleMania, and even before WrestleMania, with Cody Rhodes' story, is that there weren't enough challengers and challenges for Cody Rhodes when he was fighting anybody leading up to his match at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns. He didn't go through enough. He showed up at the Royal Rumble and won, yes, and that's huge, but he did come out at the end. He had some exhibition matches. He really was never in danger. So it felt like such a lock that Cody was going to win because he was never in peril. He just kind of rode through the whole thing after injury. You could argue that his injury was that big thing that he had to overcome, that big obstacle, but within the ring, with the feuds, nothing was leading to that point against Roman where you ever thought, oh, he's not really going to win. I think a lot of us were shocked that Roman did retain, but it seems like now you're almost trying to go back and you're trying to tell this story. And as Cody says, he's always like, I'm going to try and finish the story. That's still his theme. He's still trying to get to Roman Reigns. But right now, his first obstacle is going to be Brock Lesnar. And I think he loses at WrestleMania Backlash, whether it is just a DQ, whatever, but he's not coming out on top of this thing and beating Brock clean. I think it is going to be Cody having to lose, to try and build him up, get more sympathy, more backing from the crowd, so that he can win eventually, and be it at SummerSlam or next year's WrestleMania. I just kind of feel like Cody should have won. He should have won this match against Roman Reigns, because I don't really know where the story's going to go. We may be sitting here in 6 months' time and saying, this is great, this is even better than what they did in the last year, but Roman's not going to be on TV every single week. He's going to show up for the big shows, the big marquee matches. And I think some of Roman's opponents are going to end up being like Cody eventually again, Seth, maybe The Rock at WrestleMania, I don't know, and maybe like a Gunther or something you want to do, but you got to get some other opponents. Roman's basically gone through every single person that he possibly can and has beaten the whole roster. Right now, the only story that is still happening is Cody. It's great that Cody is on TV every single week too, because you don't have Roman, so you're kind of slotting in Cody and Brock to fill the void. The other key thing, and the other question mark I have, and question to all of you, is going to be, where do we end up after the draft? You have Brock and Cody, maybe on Raw. Roman, is he going to float both brands, or are they going to finally introduce another title? This is the big question mark when it comes to the draft, and it's a big opportunity if Triple H truly has control over this thing, to see how this is going to turn out and make some big moves. I could see them just leaving everything kind of the same, where you do have definitive brands, but Roman is going to be cross-brand and he goes where he wants based on the feud. That way USA and Fox get Roman on both shows. But I think you could also go in the other direction and try to melt the titles and give Roman like the one Universal Championship so he completes his 1,000-day reign. And you could then set up a brand new title, big gold belt, a new modded Winged Eagle to do on Raw or the other show. And that way you could get somebody like Brock or Cody getting that title belt, or Seth, and getting their hands on this new belt and fighting for that, and then maybe culminating at WrestleMania against Roman. I don't know, but there's a lot that needs to happen. This match with Brock and Cody, I think it really needs to turn into Cody having to come and fight from underneath. I don't think it's going to be at all Cody winning this thing clean and then just moving on, because we do have a lot of pay-per-views coming up too, and I think this feud is going to really need to carry on for a few months. Like, this is probably going to be Cody's big spring-summer feud, because we have Backlash, which I think needs to end in some sort of DQ, big fight brawl thing. Then you end up with Queen of the Ring, and then you are basically looking at SummerSlam. And I think that you're going to want to culminate this thing. If you're going to have 3 matches potentially with Brock and Cody, you might be able to get away with having this thing all the way at SummerSlam. But then what? The big question is always, then what are you going to do? The bloodline and Roman is still all looming in the background for Cody, potentially, if that is the story they want to tell. What are you going to do with Cody Rhodes after SummerSlam? Whether he beats Brock at SummerSlam or not, what's going to happen next for Cody? How are you going to get all the way to WrestleMania if you're trying to finish this story? Are you going to have the match at SummerSlam between Roman and Cody Cody loses a second time to Roman, and then he has to try to win, coming in at number 1 at the Royal Rumble and winning the whole thing? I'm not too sure. And I'm not too sure how you get there if you are trying to get to WrestleMania 40, Cody versus Roman Part 2 or Part 3, and doing it that way. I worry too that the crowd could potentially not turn on Cody, but just get kind of tired of it and tired of the story. Telling a 1-year-long storyline between Cody versus Roman, and even it's longer than a year, because you would be going from like the Royal Rumble, this past year's Royal Rumble, all the way to Mania, going through a Mania and then another WrestleMania. That's a long time to just be going through one story arc for one character. Now, on the positive, that's great story building. That's great storytelling. That's long-term booking, which I think a lot of us have always wanted, is long-term storytelling with these characters and not feeling it's hot-shotted every single month or every couple of months. But I think what's really good here is that they are going to be potentially doing long-term storytelling, but I do wonder if it's going to wane on the fans. And what happens if somebody else gets hot? That's the other thing. If WWE is going to go all in on Cody versus Roman again, and we get through this storyline of Cody versus Brock, What happens if the crowd is just kind of meh on Cody? What happens if that, yes, he's over, but he's not as over as he was at WrestleMania 39 when that could have been the moment to pull the trigger? What happens if Cody is just not getting as over, not getting the same reactions, and somebody else is getting bigger reactions and a bigger push? Could it be LA Knight? It could be, but I doubt it. But what realistically, could it be Seth? Seth is hugely over, and I don't think we saw him on this past week's Raw, which is interesting. Because I don't know what they're going to do next with Seth and a lot of superstars. And I think for a lot of them, it's going to be being able to see what's going to happen next once we get to the draft. And I think that's where we really will have maybe a better idea of the direction they're going to take stars like Seth, like Cody, and others. And there are rumors of where people will be going, and all of that is going to start spiraling up. Seth is an interesting one too in all of this because, like I said, what happens if Seth gets way more over? And Seth starts getting even more cheers, an even bigger push where people are like, he's the guy. We want Seth again to be at the top of the mountain, and we want Seth to be the guy that is going to take down Roman Reigns. I personally don't see anybody else that is going to be in Roman's whole vicinity and sphere that is realistically going to be able to topple him, that will have enough momentum over the course of the year. And it's interesting too because you might get a situation, maybe not, but you might get into a situation like Cody being like Roman several years ago, where Cody could be shoved down our throats just like Roman was by Vince and WWE. That the marketing machine, WWE, pushed Roman down our throats year after year to try and make him the guy, and fans didn't accept it. And I worry that Cody could end up this year being in a similar position. Likely to happen? Probably not, because I think he's just a good solid babyface that can kind of maneuver the waters and stay relevant and not get in a position where the fans are just going to turn on him. I think he will always have a popular fan base. I just worry if he becomes too much of a pushed every single week, cutting the promos, and having good matches, but never really winning the title. And if he's always just locked as that prime main event spot guy, I do wonder if fans will start to get tired of just it overall, that whole story arc, and they start wanting somebody else. Because what's interesting with wrestling all the time is fans can really just grab onto anybody and try to shoot them up like they did with Daniel Bryan, where we can say, that's our guy, we want that to be the guy, and fans can really turn on it. And especially if Triple H is not totally in control of creative and we're still dealing with Vince. If we're still dealing with Vince, the storylines can get muddied and it could not go the way that they want creatively, and fans might also end up being kind of upset that it's not really going the way they want. So will Cody win at Backlash? I'm going to say no. Even though Cody may have just won here in the game, I'm going to say Cody does not go on to win Backlash, but I do think that it's likely that they're going to continue this story. There's going to be a lot more to come. If you guys enjoy videos like this, hit the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this feud between Cody and Brock Lesnar getting started. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.